we're gonna get into the video, right? So apparently he was accused of like a lot of shit, and like niggas are talking about he's a pedo and shit like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? He's all that. You know what I'm saying? It's a long video. It's like a little movie. So we're gonna watch this, and we're gonna hop right into the game. But I low key want to watch this because, bro, Dan Schneider has made literally Victorious, iCarly, Drake and Josh, fucking Sam and Cat, Zoe 101. What else? What else has he made? He's made a lot more shows, but those are all like childhood hits, bro. Those are hits. You feel
Is
me?
it a coincidence that
So let's get into it, bro.
Pedophiles were working at the largest children's television network during the peak of its success
What?
and popularity? What if I told you that there was also a convicted pedophile managing the children that were often cast on the network's shows? What if I told you that many
Should I go down here or
forced to
fuck it?
kiss
We gonna come down
age
here,
of
bro.
18 on camera? And then what if you found out that multiple of these young victims grew up and were caught performing inappropriate sexual acts with children themselves, repeating the cycle of abuse?
Sad, bro.
These are not rumors, these are facts. When you combine these facts with
Let's
the
get into it,
realization
man.
that many of the jokes, physical comedy, outfits, and even random pieces
You know what's
of the
crazy,
set
bro?
were sexual.
I thought she was so tough. And Zoe, when I was a kid, bro, obviously when I was a kid, bro, like, you know, when I was a kid, I thought she was so tough. Lakers, I mean, bro, we are, you know what I'm saying, in the playoffs, you know, unlike, you know, a lot of teams that you fuck with, you know, so, hey, man.
Innuendos.
That's all I really gotta say.
At some point, you'd start to eliminate the possibility of this being a coincidence. And
call me one more mama griddle, bro. Let me warm this up, bro. Little breakfast sandwich. You know, the McGriddle is the best sandwich. You know,
today I'm going to break down exactly how a powerful network of executives separated child actors from their families, have their actors.
Bro, Victoria too. Bro. It was just like, I'm telling you, man.
For emotional support.
Bro, if it's something with her, bro, I don't know. It might be some.
I
might crash out, bro.
Silence anyone who dared to speak out, and then bragged about it in front of the whole world. And just like most organized crime operations, they typically funnel up to one top boss, the untouchable creator of this
nigga.
machine.
You remember?
Insert Dan.
Y'all remember the fucking at the end of the intros, it like the oven will pop out with this nigga name. That was him.
And Schneider,
this
the
nigga,
man
bro.
behind the camera, the esteemed Nickelodeon producer who created some of the most iconic children's television programs in history.
What was about to say, Henry Danger?
I love it when the cast gets sassy with me because I get to write all the scripts with some very talented writers, but I can put them in any horrible predicament I choose.
Dan Schneider was a child actor.
What does he
himself,
mean by that?
Most notable for his role as Dennis on Head of the Class. During this time, he and his co-star Brian Robbins became great friends. The pair were later asked to co-host the second annual Kids' Choice Awards by a Nickelodeon producer called Albie Hecht. The three men struck a friendship and frequently discussed creating a project together. By 1993, Hecht had become a high-level executive at Nickelodeon and challenged Robbins to pitch him a children's television series that their new production studio could pitch to Nickelodeon. At the time, Nickelodeon was not yet the powerhouse it would become. The network struggled to become profitable in the 80s as they were losing millions of dollars per year. One year, they were actually the lowest viewed network out of all U.S. cable channels.
That's crazy.
Early 90s cartoons like Doug, Rugrats, and Ren and Stimpy were allowing the network to pick up higher viewership, but their live-action shows struggled. So Brian recruited Dan and they came up with a sketch comedy show like Saturday Night Live, but for children, called All That. Dan wrote in his personal blog, "We did a nationwide talent search and got very lucky. Every kid we ended up hiring for the original All That cast turned out to be fantastic.
I didn't even watch All That, bro.
Server, Kenan Thompson, Kel Mitchell, Katrina Johnson,
Kenan Thompson, Kel. Those are like two of the big, like, I know.
Angelique Bates,
if y'all
Alyssa
some
Reyes.
old heads and y'all
Dan
remember
recalled
Kenan
that
and
the
Kel,
show
bro.
didn't
Y'all remember
test
that
well,
show, bro.
and that the network felt like kids wouldn't like a sketch comedy show. But they took a chance on him, and the show immediately became a huge success for Nickelodeon as soon as it aired. All That would go on to have 10 seasons and become one of the most culturally significant teen Nickelodeon shows of all time.
Ended right when
Imagine
I was
how
about to be
proud
born,
the
bro.
executives were of Dan's performance. They were finally getting the big break they needed, and Nickelodeon was coming closer to becoming a profitable network. The only thing that could ruin their momentum would be some sort of scandal or reports of child abuse. And that's exactly what happened, according to Angelique Bates, who was only 12 years old when the abuse began. But first,
not the
a
sister.
quick word from today's sponsor. With Under.
You feel me? Even though I be getting finesse on there anyway.
So
I might as well go on
and make your own picks with Underdog.
I
From
might as well go on there.
1992 to 1996, I was a series regular on Nickelodeon's All That. I was only 12 years old, and that's when
they're not losing it for it.
I was physically, mentally, emotionally abused in front of the producers and cast members, and sometimes they could even hear me yelling. But nothing was done to help me until approximately 1996 when CPS was called. And when CPS came, I was pressured by all the adults that were set to protect me to stay silent. I did, and I have. But I can no longer stay silent.
Bro, this is. I feel like if you're in a situation like this, and like I don't know, I've never been in a situation, so I can't really speak on it like that. But like, I feel like if something is happening to you, and something like this is happening to you, like you getting like, you know what I'm saying, essayed and shit like that, I feel like you gotta go to someone as soon as possible. Like you waiting this long, like 2016. All that shit ended in 2005. Like you know what I'm saying? Like I'm not even trying to like say like, you feel me? I'm just saying she should have went and told someone. You feel me? Like she shouldn't have waited, bro.
Bates, and I am an adult survivor of child abuse, and this is my story.
Angelique is the first known survivor who has spoken up against Nickelodeon's corrupt practices, and her story is extremely important because it also highlights the parents' involvement in such abuse. Angelique recalls Nickelodeon producers being upset that her mom was constantly supervising her.
They started having a bullseye for her, was that she was one of the parents that was not going to leave me unattended on set because by law, parents are supposed to be there. So they didn't like that fact that she wouldn't leave me.
Some parents,
they didn't like the fact that her mom was there.
Would leave their kids unsupervised while they work. They trusted the producers and did not want to interfere with their child's opportunity to build a career for themselves. Angelique's mother was not like that, and she even recalled a time where someone made a sexual advance towards her, and her mother threatened to sue the network. Unfortunately, Angelique's mother was also physically and emotionally abusive towards her, so she wasn't safe on set or at home.
The double-edged sword with my mom. My mom's beating my ass, but then she's like protecting me from Nickelodeon all at the same time.
What the fuck?
Like,
Sons and Six, yep, Sons and Six, bro.
Like I said, the reason why they started hating her was...
Hey, man, if you don't see the pin, bro, make sure to click that. It's the YouTube video that dropped yesterday. Reaction of the Philly. It's a Heat and Philly game. You know what I'm saying? It's the playing game. Go react to that. You know what I'm saying? Go watch it. You feel me? Just go show some love.
Was blocking me from that, and because she was turning down sexual advances from it.
Angelique slowly received less and less work due to her mother's
Son's trolling though, bro. Like I feel like they can win though. They can win that
because she and her mother could not be controlled.
I think they can win that.
And because no wrongdoings were ever officially reported, all that ratings continued to soar. The series propelled the careers of cast members Kenan Thompson and Kel Mitchell, who starred in the first All That spinoff.
Wait, what
was
happened?
Also physically and emotionally abusive towards her, so she wasn't safe on set or at home.
Double-edged sword with my mom. Mom's beating my ass, but then she's like protecting me from Nickelodeon all at the same time. Like she blocked all that. Like I said, the reason why they started hating her was because she was blocking me from that and because she was turning down sexual advances from it.
Angelique slowly received less and less work due to her mother's involvement.
That's
and
crazy.
She was blackballed by Nickelodeon because she and her mother could not be controlled. And because no wrongdoings were ever officially reported, all that ratings continued to soar.
That's
the series
insane.
propelled the careers of cast
cut her
members
lines
Kenan
and shit
Thompson and Kel
'cause
Mitchell,
they
who starred in the
couldn't
first All That spinoff, Kenan
be with
and
her
Kel. The show
alone?
originally aired on Nickelodeon for 4 seasons from 1996 to 2001 and was equally as successful as All That.
I didn't
winning
get
the
to see
Favorite
this
TV
shit.
show award at the 1998
These 90s
Kids' Choice
niggas.
Awards. They also starred in the Nickelodeon cult classic
Welcome
film,
to Good Burger, home of the
However,
Good
with
Burger. Can I
Schneider
take
in
your order?
charge, not much changed.
He was in that
behind the
movie.
scenes.
He wasn't. I was like, wait, this nigga looks so familiar. He was in Good Burger, bro. Yo.
Taisha Hampton, ex-wife of Kel Mitchell, spoke out on suspicious behavior she experienced on Nickelodeon sets. Taisha was married to Mitchell from 1999 to 2005, but they originally met on the set of Good Burger where she was casted as an extra. She too backs up the claims that parents were not around.
And these parents, like Kel's parents, were not with him. All these parents of the kids on the show, their parents were not with him.
Separate the children from the parents. That
What
seems
the
to be a
fuck?
theme with Nickelodeon. There are 2 main reasons why they likely did this.
Bro, these
Firstly,
niggas
it
like
seems like
kid- like,
Nickelodeon was trying to take
what?
advantage of loose child labor
That
laws
shit
in
is.
Florida, where the
I
show
just. I don't think how someone can like prey on a kid. Like, what the fuck? And these are grown men.
According to the 1998 Florida Child Labor Code, minors aged 15 and under could work 40 hours per week as long as it was during a holiday or summer vacation. 16 and 17-year-olds who graduated from high school or had their GED did not have to abide by any work hour restrictions. A school superintendent could also issue a waiver.
16, 17 who have graduated from high school. These niggas didn't get no
of hours, and there is no law that specifically states a parent must supervise their kid while their child is working.
Niggas is probably working over 12 hours.
However, regardless of what the code says, child labor experts say the laws were rarely enforced or penalized when there was a violation. In 1992, Jeffrey Newman of the National Child Labor Committee said that child labor today is at a point where violations are greater than at any point during the 1930s. One report found that the average business could expect to be inspected once every 50 years or so. Inspectors spend only about 5% of their time looking into child labor problems. Businesses across the entire nation were taking advantage of loose child labor laws in the 90s. Do you think Nickelodeon was any different? Children are more susceptible to exploitation and abuse in the workplace due to their vulnerability and lack of bargaining power. Think of how easy it would be for a TV producer to torment and gaslight a young actor if they weren't getting their lines right or performing to the producer's standards. But if their parents were there on set witnessing their child get scolded.
Apparently that's what's the name's sister, bro. Britney Spears, bro. I never knew that. I never knew it. It makes sense. It makes sense now, but like, I never
they might
knew
cause a fuss. Producers want as little friction as possible, so it's not crazy to think that they probably cast talent with parents who stay out of their way. But once they do get the parents out of the way, what do they do with the kids?
Because we would get into clubs, and we were young, like 16, 17 years old, and we'd be in clubs.
What the fuck?
And the people on the set in Florida made us fake IDs. And so then I started thinking,
what? I was gonna say, okay, you in clubs. I mean, it's Hollywood. Like, you know, niggas probably got fakes. You know what I'm saying? Like, it makes sense. But they were supplying them with the fake IDs. That's insane.
Like, wait, what? And then they were talking about orgies, and they were talking about like people on the set would show like pornos and
with kids.
Those were kids, like young kids on that set.
Yeah, these are grown 30-year-old men and women
showing this to the kids.
16, 17, 15, 14
Bro, that's
year
crazy.
Old kids. But another one of the cast members was like cleaning Dan Schneider's car with a bikini on. Now, this time she had been 15, 16 years old.
What?
The other time they would have like
bro,
parties where the parents wouldn't be there and they'd give us alcohol. And
oh hell nah.
Another one of
these niggas was on some weird shit.
Was giving blowjobs to the producers.
Wow, one of the kids.
And they were kids.
Tracy
Brown,
is crazy. Whose son Brian Hearn
There's no way I just heard that,
bro.
Bro.
For season 7 and 8 tells a similar story from a mother's perspective.
Because there are many times on that set where they're like, hey, we want to invite Brian to a party. And I'm like, hey, just Brian? And they go, yes. And I'm like, yes. And they don't like moms that take control of their child. But I had heard things. So guess what? You don't need to like me. And they were like, well, bye-bye. And I was like, let's go. I was not going to do anything for the money. Like, y'all need to understand. I'm that woman. I'm not going to do anything that might compromise my son, not even for the...
Yo, these niggas at Nickelodeon, bro, are crazy, bro.
The perversion may have been scripted into the shows.
These are things that we know.
Kyra on Kenan and Kel, who was just 12 years old, but was always trying to flirt and make sexual advances on the much older Kel. She would refer to him as her boyfriend, despite him being obviously uninterested because she is a child. At the same time that Kenan and Kel were huge stars, one All That cast member emerged and became the most iconic Nickelodeon star of all time, Amanda Bynes. At just 10 years old, Amanda stood out amongst her peers and showcased her comedic
I'm not even
talents
really
through
familiar
various
with her.
characters and sketches. As a preteen, she was maturely confident and comfortable on screen. According to Leon Frierson, who was cast on All That since season 1, Schneider showed clear favoritism for Bynes. "We had to go to school on set. There would be times when Amanda would just be missing," he recalled in the docuseries. "A lot of times we would hear she would be with Dan, pitching ideas and writing. We see them grow closer to each other on set." He continued, "Amanda Bynes' parents were very hands-on in her career, specifically her dad. His presence was always felt. A big part of that was his relationship with Dan Schneider. Like we said before,
She was just missing. What is...
Where hands-on parents
I
were
don't
not
even want to
wanted
like
on
think about
Nickelodeon's
it.
set.
But, like,
That is,
bro, this
unless
dude...
they are bending to the interests of Dan Schneider.
Why is
Despite
he like...
the favoritism, Dan never
What the
planned on
fuck
giving
is wrong,
Amanda
bro?
her
What's
own
up with this
show
nigga, bro? Why does he have his arm around just...
He claims he never wanted to be on children's television. He initially created and helped produce a series called Guys Like Us for the United Paramount Network at their primetime 8 p.m. slot. Guys Like Us revolves around 2 young men, Sean Barker and Jared Harris. The pair are forced to look after Jared's 6-year-old brother Maestro, who comes to live with them after Jared's father accepts a job opportunity overseas.
"Why don't you go wash your hands?" "They're clean." "Well, then go wash your feet."
Dan's sitcom designed for adults was an utter failure as he was not funny nor creative
Yeah,
enough to keep adults entertained.
Like,
It
what
was
the hell was
canceled
that,
after
bro?
1 season due to
I don't even
abysmal
know, bro.
ratings, so he shifted his focus to create.
He basically this dude made a video about like it's basically like breaking down all the shit that Dan Schneider, like the dude who made like all the hit shows in Nickelodeon, he basically like is breaking down everything like what happened throughout like his career at Nickelodeon. Like apparently it's like a whole bunch of crazy shit like with like all the shows that like we used to watch, like Zoe 101, like iCarly, Victorious, like all that.
A show around
I low-key
Amanda.
wanna see,
The
like,
Amanda Show was a
what's
sketch
going-
comedy
like-
television program that had a very similar
His
look,
name, I always
feel,
seen his
and
name.
comedic style as All That and Kenan and Kel. Schneider struck gold again. The Amanda Show became the highest-rated live-action television program on Nickelodeon during its run. Amanda portrayed various
I'm not even hip
characters
to
that
this
would
shit,
become
bro. This is like
iconic,
the
such
old
as
niggas,
Judge
like-
Trudy.
This dude look a little bit, you know
Crazy
what I'm saying,
Courtney.
older though. It's like look at
And
Josh. That
Amanda's
nigga was a jit.
obsessive fan,
Yeah, this is
Penelope
old. It's more shit.
Taint.
I'm not hip.
And it took us 20 years to realize that her last name was a sexual innuendo. People also think that her catchphrase, Amanda Please, was built off the phrase, a man to please, which would be such a
What?
deep, detailed level of innuendo that it's kind of hard to believe. However, as this video goes on, it just seems more and more possible. People today also believe that her sketch called Amanda's Jacuzzi may have been inappropriate since the whole concept was her as a 13-year-old interviewing mostly grown men in a hot tub. And of
What
course,
the-
another foot joke.
Is it also true that you can put both of your feet
Why is this grown ass nigga? He's just in there with a like.
inside
What?
your mouth at the same time?
I don't know. No.
Even Dan decided to jump in the
Huh?
jacuzzi with Amanda.
Hi, welcome to my jacuzzi. Today my special guest is
What the fuck? Why is this big ass nigga in the pool water? What is? He's the producer. Nigga, she don't need an inter.
the executive producer of the Amanda Show, Dan Schneider.
Hi.
Now you're the executive producer of the show.
Yes, I'm the executive producer and the head writer.
People believe Dan was
This
almost
shit just seem
bragging by
weird.
creating lightly sexual conduct into his kids' shows, like the Spitballer 5000, which was a phallic object that the kids had to blow into to launch a giant spitball at someone. Behind-the-scenes footage indicates that Dan and
Like,
Amanda
what is
were
this
very
nigga
close,
doing,
which is
bro?
why it was shocking that the Amanda
Bro, what is he
show abruptly
doing?
ended in 2002, just 3 years after it aired on Nickelodeon. In an interview with The Times, Bynes explained that she decided to leave for other opportunities. "I was having fun, but at 15, you don't want to be doing what you did when you were 12. Schneider
Type
also
shit.
commented on her exit with, "I've
I'm
seen
sure.
kids in her position experiment with drugs and be too promiscuous, but Amanda has avoided all of that. My wife, who knows her, says she's almost like Marsha Brady in that she's so clean-cut and wholesome." This quote seems characteristically odd from Dan. Like she was just talking about transitioning to more mature roles like her sitcom What I Like About You, and he had to bring
I never
up
seen this
drugs and
shit.
sex for some reason. Many years later, cast members would come out and speak about how they perceived Amanda behind the scenes. Actress Chelsea Brummett, who co-starred on All That, recalled, "She was closed off to everyone. You'd ask her a question and she'd give you a quick answer to end the conversation. She was always defiant with her dad, but she tried to hide things from her dad. She always seemed like she was trying to hide things they would butt heads. This recountment does line up with the timeline of 2003, where Amanda sought to be emancipated from her parents at just 17 years old.
Emancipated talks about emancipation. Emancipation. The fuck? The fact or process of being set free from legal, social. She wants to be free from her parent? What?
In June of 2003, Amanda's agent, manager,
Why does she
and
kinda
lawyer
look
were all
tired?
abruptly fired
Hey,
by
let me
her
chill,
parents.
actually,
The young
'cause I don't know
star,
how,
now 17, was seeking legal emancipation from her parents, who were furious when they discovered that the reps had concealed this fact from them. Unfortunately, Amanda was not
What?
able to successfully get emancipated.
Why
During
would
this
you
rough
wanna
patch in her
get-
life, Bynes reportedly leaned on Schneider and his wife, Lisa Lillian, for support. She was spending a lot of time with us, said Lillian, but she never left her family's house. This direct quote from Dan's wife is strong evidence that Dan and Amanda were close off set.
So this nigga has a wife, but he's doing all this weird shit. That's crazy.
Amanda has spoken out very strongly against her
I
father,
don't understand it,
and
bro.
maybe at the time looked at Schneider as a replacement father figure. Dan also recently recounted a night where Amanda ran away from home.
That's the nigga
One
from
night, It was very late, well after midnight, 1 or 2 in the morning.
Yo, this nigga look old as hell here. Damn.
Phone rang. I answered. It was Amanda. She
Life.
was upset. She was in distress. She had some conflict with her parents, I think her father, and she called me. I was immediately concerned about her safety. I called someone who I knew was fairly nearby. That person was able to go and pick her up. Then I knew she was safe. I felt better. She ended up being taken to the police.
As much as people blame Dan for
Damn.
the downfall of Amanda's career, or claim that he had suspicious involvement that's deeper and more inappropriate, throughout Amanda's whole life and numerous
That's her now? Oh, nah. Yeah, Nickelodeon got to her, bro. Look at this.
public spirals, she never blamed or accused Dan Schneider of anything. All of her anger and horrible accusations were
I'm not even
towards her
trying to hold,
biological
like,
father.
damn, like, how old
However,
is she?
the
She
cloud
must
of
be-
mystery
What the fuck? Is she like 40 or something? Like, how old is she?
and potentially inappropriate behavior surrounding
even know her
Amanda,
name.
as
I
well as
forgot what
her
her name was.
obviously
How did
broken
that go
family
from
life,
that?
seemed to be a common gray area Dan found himself in with
iCarly,
his
man.
stars. Over the years, some of the most prominent
Iconic
stars
show,
like
bro.
Jamie Lynn
Iconic.
Spears, Jeanette McCurdy, and Ariana Grande all had absent fathers. On one hand, you can blame the parents. On another, you could look at Dan as a predatory
Are you
opportunist.
too close to Carly, bro?
Or
Back
maybe
up,
it's
bro.
a little bit of
Pull
both.
me back up, my nigga.
But there was a real convicted predator who worked underneath Dan Schneider. Jason Handy, a production assistant who worked on All That and The Amanda Show, exchanged email addresses and phone numbers with parents and kids who thought he was a friendly and helpful presence on set.
What? So this nigga was trying to get the numbers of the.
Thought, oh, I could be friends with this person, said MJ, the mother of a former actress on The Amanda
Oh,
Show, who was
hell nah,
identified
bro.
as Brandy. The mother was mortified when she saw her 11-year-old
So
daughter
many
looking
weird
at
niggas in
graphic email
TV,
from
bro.
Handy.
It was a picture of him naked, masturbating. And he said he had sent it to her because he wanted her to see that he was thinking of her.
That's crazy, bro. You send that to a kid?
Daughter left the entertainment
a
industry
grown
after that email.
40,
Andy was arrested
30,
in April of
however old this
2003 after
this
launch.
nigga is. Look at, he looks crazy. This nigga is crazy, bro. What? Bro, this is like, it's just crazy to hear.
Enforcement
Like, the
received
shit
a
that
tip
just goes
about
on in this
him.
world.
When
is
the
actually
police investigated
insane.
his home, they found over 1,700 images of young girls in erotic poses, as well as 7 videos
Get this
on
nigga
CD
outta here, bro.
files of children engaged in sexually explicit
hell no.
conduct. In
Oh,
Handy's
hell
personal
no. Throw
diary,
this nigga
he
in the
wrote
fucking-
sentences like, I am a pedophile full blown. He added, I have really been giving into my desire for little girls these past few weeks.
How does-
And then he detailed his day-to-day struggle on how he could find a victim that he could sexually assault. In 2004,
Bro, that's
Handy was
fucking
sentenced to
insane,
6
bro.
years in prison
6?
after being convicted.
That's it? 6 years, bro? What? I mean, it's since 2004, but like, bro, I feel like he should have got like, bro, 15 max, bro. Like, you're fully taking advantage of a child, bro. And this happened multiple times. And he had hella, like, bro, they should have threw, but this nigga should have got life damn near.
convicted on 2 felony
that's
counts, one of
fucking
lewd acts on a
wild,
child
bro.
and one of distributing sexually explicit material by email, as well as on a misdemeanor charge related to sexual exploitation of a child. Many of you are probably thinking 6 years is not enough.
Yeah.
And surprise, surprise, he got out and in 2014 committed 2 other felony sex offender violations with a child.
This nigga literally got out and did the same shit. Bro. Oh, hell. I feel like at that point, then you gotta get life.
Allegedly, Handy's case
Obviously, this
prompted
nigga doesn't- you
Nickelodeon to
feel me? He
toughen its
needs life,
background
bro.
checks for all employees, trying to prevent this from happening again. Yet somehow,
it happened again.
This was not even close to the last time a pedophile would infiltrate Nickelodeon's network.
It's a black nigga too? Oh my god. Bro, geez, bro, come on, bro. Like, I don't want to be racist, right, bro. I'm not even being racist, but like, come on, bro. Come on, man. Come on, bro. You gotta do better,
Drake
bro.
Bell formed a bond with the dialogue coach Brian Peck during the second season of the
Damn,
Amanda
Drake.
Show. Peck, who has no relation to Drake's co-star Josh Peck,
fuck.
would invite Drake to his house for acting
I heard about
lessons.
this. I kind of know a little bit about it, but like, what happened to Drake was like.
These lessons were supervised by
I wonder if
Drake's
he
father,
talked about it. I
Joe,
think he
who was
did.
told that Brian Peck was a skilled coach who would help Drake secure more acting opportunities. However, over time, Joe became uncomfortable with their relationship.
And unfortunately, I started seeing Brian start to just hang around Drake too much. And it didn't set well with me. Drake would be in the dressing room or something, and in would pop Brian and just touch Drake. You know,
That's
do
fucking
things that,
wild.
wait a second, what are you doing? Drake can put that on himself. And the thing is, this is in front of people.
Joe,
I never been in a situation, so I don't know. Like, you feel me? What would a kid do to a grown man? Like, you can't really do any like. But like, man, I don't know, bro. It's just fucked.
expressed his
It's actually
concerns
fucked,
with
bro.
production
It's actually
personnel and said he was uncomfortable with Brian,
These
only
niggas-
to be
these
called
niggas
homophobic
actually-
because
bro.
of Brian's sexual orientation. Therefore, Joe backed off. Once this got back to Brian, he
Oh my
manipulated
God,
Drake
bro.
into severing ties with his father/manager, suggesting that Joe was sabotaging Drake's career. Peck subsequently integrated himself into
Old,
multiple areas of
weird-ass
Bell's
nigga, bro.
life and became a father figure for the young actor. Eventually, Peck convinces Drake's mother to let him stay at his house during auditions.
Huh?
These predators entice the children with fame and fortune, convince them that their parents are trying to hold them back, then totally isolate them and do who knows what behind closed doors. It's likely that all
Why
the
did
kids who
Leo-
made it out unscathed were because of parents who stepped
Oh,
in and removed their
nah.
child
Not
from
my
the
nigga
situation
Leo.
before it was too late. However, the more popular the actor was, such as Drake Bell, the more difficult it became to remove them from the industry.
She wasn't Drake and
Sadly, with
Josh.
Brian Peck and Drake Bell, we do know what happened behind closed doors. When Drake slept
Yeah,
on
I
Brian's
seen
couch,
this.
the sexual assault began.
Sleeping on the
Oh,
couch
bro.
where I usually sleep. And I woke up to him. I just opened my eyes. I woke up and he was sexually assaulting me. Why don't you think of the worst stuff that someone can do to somebody as a sexual assault? And that'll answer your question.
Shit crazy, bro. Shit is actually fucking crazy, man.
Drake wouldn't tell anyone for several months. The abuse persisted until Drake began
And
spending.
then it's like he's in such a weird position because like this is his like life, like this is career, right? So he probably thinks if he says something or does something, he's gonna lose. Like he's a kid in his mind, so he probably think they gonna kill him or something, or like he's automatically like not gonna be he's not gonna obviously get to work there anymore, or like lose his stuff in TV and shit. So it's like it's tough, man. It's actually it's fucked hearing this shit, bro. Damn.
Spending more time at a girlfriend's house. One day, when he was supposed to meet with Brian, Drake said he did not want to hang out. Brian then started calling his phone nonstop. When Drake failed to answer, Brian obsessively started calling his girlfriend's house, which is when the girlfriend's mother suspected something was wrong and took Drake to her family therapist.
What the
He later
fuck?
detailed the abuse to his own mother. who called the police. I had to be excruciatingly detailed about every single thing and time that it had happened with 2 absolute strangers. The worst part was I had to make a phone call to Brian and get him to admit to what he'd done. The police monitored a wired phone call with Brian, who broke into a full-on confession that led to his arrest. The investigation was conducted privately, and Bell remained unidentified to the public for several years due to his age at that time. Drake did tell Dan
These
Schneider
niggas
about the situation.
they just
right
need to
before
like
the trial.
get sentenced to death,
And when
bro.
Drake
At this point,
and
bro.
I talked, and he told me what had happened. I was more devastated by that than anything that ever happened to me in my career thus far. And I told him, I'm here for you. What do you need? But Drake's mom, a lovely woman who I stay in contact with this day, she came to me at the time and she said, Dan, I'm not good with words like you are. And would you help me with my speech with the judge? And I said, of course. And I did.
During Brian Peck's trial,
I think
numerous
that shit
prominent
was real,
figures
bro.
in the entertainment industry wrote letters of support vouching for his character.
This nigga
including
was one of
James
those, bro.
Marsden,
He was
Taron
really one of
Killam,
those type
Growing
of
Pains
niggas,
star
so-
Alan Thicke, Boy Meets World actors Will Friedle and Ryder Strong, among others.
I'm not
Some
hip
of
to
these
these
figures, including Friedle and Strong, have since expressed their regret over writing the letters and stated that they were manipulated by Peck's misinformation. Brian Peck was convicted of child molestation in 2004, pleading no contest to a charge of oral copulation with a minor under 16 and a charge of performing a lewd act with a 14 or 15-year-old.
So he was-
spent only
bro, I don't
16
wanna
months
say
in
what this
prison
nigga was
and was
doing, but
mandated
now I
to
know.
register as a sex offender. And if
Oh,
you were
fuck
surprised
no.
at that abysmally low sentencing, Peck got out and secured a job working for Disney's The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody.
What? He got out after all that, and everybody saying that shit about him, and being convicted of 2 charges of child sexual abuse, and then went to Disney and started working with Sweet Life on. That's crazy. What the fuck? What type of world are we in,
In
bro?
2006, where he voiced London Tipton's Talking Mirror for 3 episodes, the Disney Channel hired a registered sex offender. Despite
Bro.
these horrible
What the
circumstances,
fuck,
Drake
Disney?
remained in the industry and would go on to
Oh
star
hell
alongside
no!
Josh Peck. in
I
the
wonder if they got
legendary-
one about Disney too, bro. Cause like, what else shows? It was a lot of good shows on Disney. It was a lot, man. But this is crazy, bro. Drake and Josh, man. These niggas are my childhood. Bro.
buddy comedy Drake and Josh, which again caused the network's ratings to explode to new heights. The series
3.2
premiere was watched by
million.
3.2 million viewers, the network's highest rated series premiere in nearly 10 years.
That's
Drake and
fucked.
Josh episodes regularly saw viewership upwards of 5, 6, 7 million. As of 2006, the show ranked consistently among the 10 most watched cable shows across all of television. And
Damn.
you could just add Zoe
Niggas had
101 to
emotion.
the list of
Zoe
Dan's
101,
dominant
man.
programs.
Bro, Victoria, just bro, she's so. Oh my
which
God.
saw an average of 3 million
I think
viewers
she was better than whatever her real name is for Zoe, bro.
per episode. It was on the set of Zoe 101 where even more photos emerged of Dan getting a little too
Look at
comfortable
this
with
nigga,
the
bro. Like, why are you like? What are you doing?
cast, particularly Aaron Sanders,
Like,
who
what?
was merely a child being held and coddled on Dan's lap. You can also see this photo where Dan's hand is
Oh
resting
my
on the
God, this is
child's
just
lower
fucking-
back.
this is
Zoe
insane.
101 also had 34 different kissing scenes across its 4 seasons. While this may not seem that
Bro,
strict,
imagine living in like that Zoe 101 world. Like you literally live on campus, like from birth. Like you get like from birth, so you don't have your parent. Like you around that. Like
strange for
I
a
can't.
teen.
It's basically college for kids, basically.
On a
That's
show,
basically what
it
this
did
shit
often
is.
lead to underage female actresses kissing over 18-year-old males. Brando Eaton was 20 years old and Victoria Justice was 14.
What?
Victoria
What? What? He was 21. He did that scene. Oh hell nah. Nah, these niggas just want to do anything, bro. I feel like it's not that serious, bro. I feel like you just gotta get another. Like, if you were to do this scene, just get someone that's their age, bro. 21 and 14 is like, I'm not even thinking about that. I'm not even 21. So imagine, bro.
at this time also had to kiss Jaren Vosberg, who was 18. And
So
get
she was-
this, 12-year-old
no,
Jamie
not-
Lynn Spears had to kiss 22-year-old Justin Timberlake on the set of All That. And Justin dated Britney Spears, which is Jamie's sister.
Yeah, that's Britney Spears. Yeah.
3 years
When you
earlier.
look at it, they
Also,
do look
this
alike.
Zoe 101 scene resurfaced recently, and many believe it to be a sexual innuendo.
I
Spears'
even-
co-star
that's fuck-
Alexa
that's
Nikolas recalled Dan making a crew member squirt the syringe of goo at Spears over and over again. It's
This
also
nigga,
important
bro.
to remember that all of the information that you now know from this video was totally unknown by the public at the time.
Okay,
All the
type shit.
allegations and predatory behavior was all
It makes
silenced
sense,
before
obviously.
they could
Like,
ever
this shit would've
reach
been got
headlines.
leaked, you
Barely
feel me?
any media outlets were reporting on why pedophiles were allowed to work
Zoe
on
101
set.
was a classic
Survivors
too,
were
bro.
scared to speak their truth, and even if they wanted to, they would have to go through a publicist or rely on a potentially corrupt media outlet to tell their story the right way. All anyone saw was the final product on television, so we assumed everything was consensual and safe and approved by people who had the best interests of the children in mind. Even if the network was suspicious of Dan and his production
Niggas
staff,
had a
which
dog
they
in that
weren't,
bitch?
they were going to do anything and everything to protect his reputation
hot,
because
bro.
Nickelodeon was red hot. At this
Nigga.
point, they had been the #1 network in viewers aged 2 to 11 for over a
Nigga, that's when they was at
decade.
their
were
peak,
raking
bro.
in
Them
millions
niggas
of
was peak.
viewers
This is
and
even
daily-
this is before like iCarly too. I think. Yeah, they didn't say iCarly yet. This is before iCarly, Victoria, like
millions of dollars. Dan had more power than
These
ever.
niggas,
and
yeah, they
was
had
about to
motion. Yeah,
unleash all
motion.
of his sick fantasies through iCarly.
Sally.
The basic premise
Yep.
of iCarly was that Carly Shay, played by previous Drake and Josh co-star Miranda Cosgrove, and her friends Sam and Freddie,
Sam.
played by Jeanette McCurdy and Nathan Kress,
thought
produce a
Carly
web
was
show
tough.
from Carly's
I
older
thought she
brother's
was better looking
apartment.
in my
The show resonated with the real-world rise of online content creation and the growing influence of social media platforms like YouTube during the 2000s. The show within a show encouraged fan interaction by incorporating segments that invited viewers to participate in the show's interactive elements. Additionally, the characters often responded to fan mail and viewer submissions on their web show, further blurring the lines between fiction and reality. Like, take a look at this time they called a 12-year-old fan.
Do you have any questions for Sydney?
I follow your Twitter.
How old are you? I'm 12. No way, I just turned 16.
You're 12?
that's crazy.
I'm like
Carly
a
was
little over
Carly was
half.
young.
Jerry's all old. So you
16.
what
Is
do you
this
like-
and this is like nah this cause did he have the long hair before? I think this might be like later on too. Or actually nah.
about
there's no way.
iCarly?
She had to be like 18 when the show
Anything else
ended.
you want to know about iCarly or any questions or
Cause
anything?
Sam went right to
No, you're all set?
Nope. I know what I know.
Would you like us to get on a plane and come to your house?
Yes.
Oh, well, that's not going to happen.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Dan
All right.
himself often communicated directly with
yeah,
fans
see,
on
look, this little the bakery. This is why I was hip. I was like, Dan Schneider. Like I seen the thumbnail. I'm like, wait, Dan Schneider. It's so familiar. And then yeah, this Murray used to pop up at the end of fucking to it.
his blog, danwarp.blogspot.com, where he gave behind-the-scenes information and did Q&As. He also started giving tons of behind-the-scenes clips to his Dan Warp YouTube channel, giving us insight on the cast's uncomfortability around him.
What? It wouldn't be a video from iCarly if I didn't do this to you. I don't know.
What the hell?
What are you doing?
I don't know.
What's going on? What are you wearing today?
What the fuck? Why is he filming these niggas like that?
I've had too much caffeine.
That nigga off more than caffeine, bro.
Please, it's so lame.
Did you know that the average adult?
Wait, what did he say?
With this footage.
I've had too much caffeine.
Don't do anything with this footage. Please, it's so lame.
Did you know that the average adult
Fuck.
American male has 18 hairs on each of his toes?
This is what happens when it gets late.
Yeah, seriously. Let us go home, Dan.
We would be home if you had gotten some of your lines right earlier in the day, right?
Damn.
Am I right?
He tried to fucking turn it back to this nigga, bro.
Who's embarrassed? No. What are you doing?
This nigga is like, bro. He has a camera like like these. What are you doing? What are you doing? Like right to your face. Like, bro, what is wrong? Like, yo, this nigga, bro. I don't know about him, bro.
Jeanette, Susie May Page wants to know. Yeah, if you could fill a pool with get out of here.
Sorry.
Wants to know if you could fill a pool with anything you like and swim in it. What would it be and why?
Huh?
Because it's a celebration in the pool.
Okay, that makes no sense.
Okay.
Miranda,
Pineapple juice.
what? I didn't ask the question.
Pineapple
I
juice.
heard. I was thinking this whole time.
I heard pineapple.
Okay, the question is, if you wanted me to hit you with a bottle of something, what would it be?
I feel like it's not the video to be, you know, making those type of
here
jokes.
comes- This is why I'm in Hollywood.
Eat your cereal, kids.
Did she say nice things about me? Because I will tase her if necessary.
Uh-oh.
I have the taser. We haven't had to use it in a long time.
I said
What?
No, I said nice things to that.
Oh.
What the fuck is wrong with this? Wait, what the fuck was that? What the fuck?
I said lots of nice things.
No, I said nice things to that.
Oh.
Did he kiss?
That's gonna get on TV.
Did he kiss her? What? Wait, what the fuck was that? Am I tweaking? Hold on. What the fuck? Was that a kiss?
A long time.
I said lots of nice things.
No, I said nice things to that.
Oh.
Alright, I mean...
That's gonna get on TV. That's gonna get on TV.
In these clips, you can get a glimpse
What
of
the
Dan's
fuck?
unpredictability. I mean, just look at how Miranda steps away from Dan as he proceeds
She obviously don't fuck with this nigga, bro. Like, look how she moving, bro. Like, she was moving away. This
to
nigga
make his
came
way
in.
around her back.
And then you on her back. Like, nigga, what are you
Pokes
doing,
her
bro?
from
What are you
behind as
doing,
she
bro?
stands awkwardly still. As you can see, while Dan is shoving a camera in these actors' faces, they're often confused. Is he joking? Is he angry? Is he
Freddie, like,
creepy?
man.
Is he going to touch them or
I might
grab them?
just
They
have
look
to lose my
extremely
job,
uncertain
bro.
around
Fuck
him
it.
as he talks to them like a classic jester. But iCarly was a massive success for the network throughout its
These
6
niggas was,
seasons.
bro, think about it, bro. iCarly, low-key, if you think about it, was the first streamers, bro, to ever make it, bro. These niggas, well, I mean, I don't, they, if they knew how to monetize it right, these niggas could have they had their own website, yeah, iCarly.com, and then you just watch it, you know what I'm saying, live, bro. That shit's low-key crazy to think about.
2007
Now
to
everybody's doing it,
2012.
bro.
The pilot episode debuted on Nickelodeon to an audience of 4.1 million, followed by
Whew,
the second
shit
episode
crazy.
on the same day with 3.9 million viewers. The show was nominated for an Emmy Award for Outstanding Children's Program 5 times
Yeah,
and averaged
iCarly-
4.6 million viewers throughout its time on
That show went
Nickelodeon. Somehow, Dan
ballistics.
managed to outdo Drake and Josh. But looking back on the show, many of the jokes and innuendos were more blatant than we remember.
How long?
3.2 seconds.
Yeah! That's the longest it's ever taken you to beat me.
Or how
Huh?
about The Sack, which was Dan making fun of the Snuggie.
You're just sitting on your couch trying to polish your bowling ball, but your blanket keeps flying off your body.
What?
Oh, my
What a-
blanket keeps flying off my body.
Like, are we reading into it too much, or is polishing your ball while advertising the sack not strategic? They mentioned that the sack comes in 4 different colors.
The sack comes in rash red, mucus green, husk yellow, or
I don't understand
The
this.
shows are always displaying close-ups of
What
feet
the
and putting cast members in
fuck?
predicaments where they have to touch each other's feet. Nobody thinks feet are this
Yo,
funny, especially
what
not for
the
them to
hell?
be such a recurring bit in a television show. Many have pointed out that the Nickelodeon
Oh,
logo
this
at
nigga was
one
one of
point was a foot,
those.
suggesting that Dan's influence was so strong he got them to change their logo momentarily to his fetish. I even found something on his blog that was particularly interesting. He had a segment called Fun Facts on his blog where he would go through an iCarly script and talk about tiny little details and why they matter. Like this one where he refers to Sam's necklace and how it's made of the same plastic that the antique radios that he collects are made out of. I mention this because it proves that there are no coincidences with what you see on screen. No matter how small
What
or
the
insignificant
fuck?
it may
So
seem, Dan put it there on purpose. In the same episode,
Yo, this
which is
nigga
called
is
I Date
sick,
a Bad Boy,
bro.
Dan says, scenes begin with Carly and Sam cutting a boy's hair. We see the first of 2 penny teas in this 1-hour episode. This one on Sam says, noodle booty. What does noodle booty mean? Why did Dan specifically point out her shirt and want us to know what it says? In another blog post, he specifically points out one of his intentionally inappropriate jokes. One where he wrote a joke where an adult woman sexualizes 17-year-old Nathan Kress. Dan writes, on the first few takes when Jane said her line, "Hey, those pants fit you real good," she was looking at the front of his pants. I had the director step in quietly and tell her that, because this is for Nickelodeon, we'd prefer she look at the back of his pants on that one.
What?
Winky face. I guess Dan thinks that complimenting a young boy's butt is somehow more appropriate. Additionally, take a look at this 2010 blog post
Bro,
where
this
he
nigga,
discusses
and then he was
adults who
posting
watch
this shit in
iCarly.
4K, so he didn't even
writes,
care.
There are around 150 people
This
who
nigga
work
did not
on
give a
iCarly,
fuck.
and none of us approach it like we're making a kid's show. We make iCarly no differently than if we were writing and producing a primetime half-hour comedy for NBC, CBS, or any one of the major
What? But it's
broadcast
a
networks.
kid's-
This statement directly contradicts what he said while addressing the Quiet on Set documentary.
Some people think that some of those jokes are inappropriate for children. What do you think of that?
Every one of those jokes was written for a kid audience because kids thought they were funny and only funny.
So Dan, are the jokes for adults, like you said 10
Yeah,
years ago on your blog?
He
or are
just
they for
literally
kids,
contradicted
like you
that
just
whole-
said recently when the pressure is at an all-time high.
What
It was
the
also
fuck?
during iCarly when 47-year-old Martin Weiss, who managed dozens of child actors, was formally charged with sexually abusing a former client. The victim told police that he had sex with Weiss 30 to 40 times about 6 years ago, and the abuse ended when he turned 15 years old. But Weiss
What the fuck?
denied that it was grape because the 15-year-old boy showed interest. But the boy said that
What?
Martin convinced him that this was common in the industry
Bro,
and
you're
denying him
50.
would ruin his career. Yet again, a pedophile, common in 10-year-old, he turned during iCarly when
47.
47-year-old
This nigga's 47. Oh my god.
Martin Weiss, who managed dozens of child actors, was formally charged with sexually abusing a former client. The victim told police that he had sex with Weiss 30 to 40 times about 6
I
years
don't
ago.
want to hear that
and
shit,
because
bro.
the 15-year-old
Yo, these
boy
niggas
showed
are.
interest.
Bro,
But
this
the
is
boy
crazy
said that Martin
to
convinced
hear,
him
bro.
that this was common in the industry and denying
Bro.
him would ruin his career. Yet again, a pedophile infiltrated Nickelodeon, and nothing changed. Still, Dan was absolutely dominating. He likely had unimaginable power at the network. Whatever he said goes, but he may have gotten a little too comfortable, maybe even cocky, because his next two shows, Victorious and Sam and Cat, would start to get him in a lot of trouble.
telling you, Victorious.
Schneider was challenged with
that was a
writing a
classic,
competitor to Disney Channel's
was
Hannah
definitely a-
Montana.
that was a
Zoe
favorite.
101 had recently ended, and Dan knew that featured actress Victoria Justice had star power. If there is anything I've learned
do.
about kids today, and I'm not saying this is good or bad, it's that they all want to be stars. This direct quote from Dan potentially backs up accusations that he uses these teenagers' desires for stardom to manipulate them. Ironically, the plot of Victorious is about a girl who attends a performing arts school and aspires to be a famous singer. In 2010, iCarly and Victorious were the top 2 live-action shows on Nickelodeon, helping Nick
Niggas-
maintain its 16-year
That nigga had
status as the
two
number
fucking-
1 network on all
Damn.
of cable. Victorious aired from 2010 to 2013 through 4 seasons,
Victorious
winning
Nice
favorite
drop.
TV show at the 2012
Nigga.
and 2013 Kids' Choice Awards, beating out iCarly, as well as receiving 4 Emmy nominations. To the surprise of no one, Dan created another iconic children's TV show, but at what cost? Before the show premiered, Nickelodeon Productions partnered with the Columbia Epic label group of Sony Music Entertainment to co-produce the series to develop talent and release their music. Ariana Grande famously got her big break on Victorious.
Ariana
she was the
Grande,
perfect addition to the show due
Before
to her
the show, like I was like, she's obviously like she was cute. You know what I'm saying? I thought she was cute, but bro, I feel
amazing
like
singing capabilities.
I don't know. She
but
had
her
a
role on
crazy
the show
glow up.
was the airheaded girl who says literally anything that is on her
I
mind.
wonder how old she
perfect
was
for
when
Dan to
like
take
like
advantage
at
of
what
and
how
insert
old was
more
she at this point?
innuendos.
Sometimes I wonder if
Well,
you
these
can
videos-
get juice from a potato. Is it possible for a teenage girl to drink water upside down? I'm thirsty. It's not possible.
Bro, and not seeing these videos, I did not think they were real, bro.
This clip of Dan and the Victorious cast behind the scenes has been dissected many times over the years, where Ariana and Elizabeth Gillis seem visibly uncomfortable due to Dan's presence.
That was one of the better things I've ever heard.
Hey.
Hi, what's going on
Bro,
here?
this nigga, what is he like, bro? Why is he so obsessed with kids, bro?
Why are you sitting on the floor of the set?
Ariana is constantly looking around, covering up her body as Dan towered over her. Many in the comments speculate that Liz started causing distractions so that Dan wouldn't do whatever they seemed to be afraid of. However, Liz Gillis actually ended up marrying a Nickelodeon producer that she met on the set of Victorious.
Huh?
Michael Corcoran is a very close friend to Dan Schneider. He wrote
You married this?
the theme songs for iCarly and Victorious. Liz and Michael began dating in 2012 when she was 18 and he was 40. They did meet on set before she was
40 and
18,
18 is-
which leads many to believe that she was groomed. But
Whoa. So you're telling me she was most likely
but
fucking with
they are
this nigga
still
before
together
she
to
was
this
7,
day.
before she was
According to Jeanette
18, and
McCurdy,
he's 40.
Schneider regularly compared the iCarly cast to that of Victorious. The Victorious kids get drunk together all the time. The iCarly kids are so wholesome. We need to give you guys a little edge, Schneider said, according to McCurdy.
iCarly did,
now,
you know,
supplying minors with alcohol
was,
is
you know,
a
more
major
than, you know,
accusation. There is definitely a lot of online evidence showing that the Victorious cast were very close, often mingling and hanging out after hours.
I know that nigga was going crap, bro. I know these niggas both was, you feel me? I already know, bro. I already
But
know.
whether
bro.
or not they are drunk is impossible to determine.
Already know,
However,
bro.
the actor who portrayed Beck on Victorious may have
this nigga
confirmed
look rough.
McCurdy's statements on a TikTok that read, "When you don't remember the plotline to a single Victorious episode, but you remember going out partying every night."
Man, them niggas
Daniela
lit.
Monet, who played the lead's older sister, Trina Vega, told Insider that some of the actors' outfits on the show were not age appropriate, and that she wouldn't even wear some of that today as an adult. Daniela also recalled a time when she contacted Nickelodeon about a Victorious scene where she ate a pickle while applying lip gloss. She expressed concern to the network that it was too sexual to air, but Nickelodeon aired it anyway. And in case you were wondering if Dan ever slowed down on his foot content, no. He actually ramped it up.
There we go.
What the fuck? Bro, I never seen this episode.
Spread your toes, girl.
Bro.
I still say this is not performing.
How about two girls fighting over a guy's foot while he sings a song?
Wow, they're really soft.
I remember seeing this episode.
Nurses, feel these kids' feet.
I didn't think
But was
about it
around
though
2012
until now.
and 2013 when people online finally started to question
The
what
fish?
was going on at
With your fish in
Nickelodeon.
the,
I believe it was
fish-
due
your
to
feet in
Amanda
the
Bynes'
fish
very
tank?
public downward spiral.
And
It was
then-
around this time she made headlines for her first DUI, assaulting a member of the paparazzi, being seen in public looking disheveled and distraught.
Nah,
Then
she
she was
looks tough,
evicted from
right?
her New York City apartment, and she got some strange dimple piercings and even
I don't know what
posted
happened to her,
lewd
bro.
photos that were not very flattering. In short, people were saying that she was going crazy, and naturally they started to question the children's television industry that she grew up in. An infamous blind item appeared on the Crazy Days and Nights blog of someone trying to warn the public about Dan. He's a monster, the worst predator alive. And if you wonder why nobody will confront or charge him, he's in charge of multiple hit shows for Nick, which rakes in oceans of money. What about the parents? No tweener parent who shoved their kid into the limelight from birth is going to cross him either and risk career suicide and loss of revenue, no matter how bad it f's
Oh,
up
yeah,
the kids. It
after
was
seeing
also-
how like these niggas get down, bro, I would probably not want my kid to be in like a show as a kid first. So I would want them if they did, I would like first, like, you know what I'm saying, make sure they want to do it first off, and then like I will definitely, if I'm not there, then I will make sure that like whoever I have the kid with is there, bro, to, you know what I'm saying, because this is crazy. These niggas just be taking advantage. I mean, it's probably way different now. Like, this was in the early 2000s and shit, but like, nah, bro. Like, this is insane. Hella weird niggas.
So around this time that a
in the
Redditor
TV
alleged
production
that Dan offered them $100 to
I grew up in LA and was an extra on the show. He paid me $100 just to tickle my feet. What the fuck?
tickle their feet while on set of one of his
Yo.
shows. Now, none of these claims were backed by any real or substantial evidence,
Yeah,
but
so
it
it's-
did get people talking. Media outlets finally began speaking out, questioning the intentions of children's TV, specifically pointing to the sexual nature of Victorious. Those designer threads often have an adult sexiness that unsuccessfully straddles the line between tasteful and trampy. While guys are allowed to be quirky and weird-looking, girls are uniformly cast from the same Bratz doll mold. Meanwhile, you had Dan posting things on his blog like, "But what Kat does in this scene is a special variation of the spit take, where the liquid just falls out of her mouth. Yes, this is what I do for a living. I analyze the various kinds of spit takes. Not a bad job," smiley face.
Bro, I don't
After
even
this
wanna,
quote
like,
from
get into
Dan, we
that.
now know that this photo, which is on the official Zoe 101 IMD page, showing Victoria Justice with spit falling out of her mouth, is probably his creation. You also had people in the early 2010s analyzing his old tweets, ones where he was constantly talking about people's feet and toes.
This toe belongs to one of the stars of one of my shows. Who toe is it? Bro, this nigga was a weird.
This toe
This
belongs
nigga was
to
in the
one of the
feet too.
stars
Oh
on
hell
one of my
nah.
shows. "Whose toe is this?"
This nigga's
To which
one
he
of
later
those, bro.
tweeted, "The toe belongs to the sweet and hilariously talented Miss Jeanette McCurdy. Sam and Cat tomorrow. Right on the bottom of your foot, take a pic and use hashtag Sam and Cat Saturday. We will retweet and follow until our fingers get sore." I also found this extremely old Pepsi commercial Dan starred in.
Bro, what
in
did
the
this
late
nigga have
80s,
going
which
on,
potentially
bro?
features an innuendo with the lotion shot splattering on the guy's chest. Then the focus of the entire commercial being on his feet not wanting to touch the sand because it's hot. And of course, there's females in the background in their bikinis. Dan was unaware of the digital renaissance aiming to take him down,
look
and
what
he
I
was
did
as
in the
reckless
Beach
as
for
ever.
You.
iCarly was officially over, and Victorious
Oh,
was
yep.
scheduled to end a few
End of
months
an
later.
era, bro. These two shows, nigga, man. Childhood, bro.
Schneider decided to
They did have Big Time Rush, but I don't think he worked on that. Now I think about it, I didn't say Big Time Rush.
hit two
Big Time
birds
Rush
with one
was a
stone
hit,
and make
bro.
a
I know
dual
every.
spin-off
I'm
for both
telling you, man.
shows. He took a fan
Now, that was
favorite
my
from
show, bro.
iCarly in Sam Puckett
I
and a
ain't
fan
gonna lie.
favorite from Victorious in Cat Valentine, and created a teen sitcom titled Sam and Cat. The premise of the show revolved around the unlikely friendship of Sam and Cat, who meet and become roommates in Los Angeles while starting their own babysitting business to
Sam
make
and Cat
ends
was
meet,
cool. I
which
was
is
watching
basically
it.
the same plot as his failed primetime sitcom from the 90s. The pilot debuted on Nickelodeon to 4.2 million viewers and was surprisingly popular despite being a spin-off that was clearly inferior to its original shows. However, Sam and Cat only lasted one season and was canceled following controversy behind the scenes.
That show was only one season. Now it does make sense. It does make sense, but damn, now that I think about it, damn.
Firstly, Jeanette McCurdy posted this strange vine.
Hey, Dan Schneider. I know you're watching my Vine. Do you like my Vine? Vine. Look what you've done to me.
Considering she would speak out
What
against
the
him 10 years
hell?
later, we now know this was not our imagination. He was really making her crazy. In her 2022 memoir, I'm Glad My Mom Died, McCurdy detailed her childhood and how her mother, Deborah, forced her to become a child actor. Schneider was also mentioned in the memoir solely as the creator, who McCurdy claimed created an unsafe work environment, frequently subjecting the cast and crew to emotional abuse. When
Wow.
Jeanette turned 18 and iCarly was coming to an end, the creator allegedly dangled the opportunity for Jeanette to have her own spin-off. She wrote that the creator took her out to dinner, where he encouraged her to try alcohol for the first time and gave her a shoulder massage. The creator is
What?
doing that thing that I've heard from my co-stars he does with every new star of a show that he's making. He takes you under his wing. You're his favorite. Additionally, there was a feud between Ariana and Jeanette brewing behind the scenes. On Jeanette's podcast, she discussed her time on Sam and Cat, revealing that she was jealous of Ariana Grande because executives allowed her the opportunity to pursue other business ventures while restricting McCurdy's career advancement. Every time something exciting happens to her, I feel like she robbed me of having that experience myself. And every time someone calls me a good sport, all I feel is how much I don't want to be one. Ariana misses work in pursuit of her music career while I act with a box. I'm pissed about it, and I'm pissed at her, jealous of her. In
Damn.
case you're wondering, one episode of Sam and Cat was based around Cat getting trapped in a box, and Sam spent the whole episode trying to get her out. The
I think I
writers had to
remember
come up
this.
with an episode without her because Ariana was busy with her music career and couldn't film. This show getting canceled after one very
She missed that whole episode.
successful season was likely due
That's
to this
fucked.
feud, but I'm sure Dan's behavior towards Jeanette and Ariana made it
Damn.
easy for them to sever ties with Nickelodeon. This basically marks the end of Dan's dominance at the network. He was recognized for his 20 years of work at Nickelodeon with their very first Lifetime Achievement Award in 2014. For the few online that were aware of the rumors surrounding Dan, this award rubbed them the wrong way. Slowly in 2014 and after, we saw more media coverage pointing out inappropriate moments in
This
his
nigga got it,
shows.
bro.
But again, the masses, the general public, had no idea what he was doing.
I
And for a
didn't
few
even know
years,
this shit
people
until
stopped talking
now.
about him online until 2017, when the Harvey Weinstein Me Too movement shook industry predators to their core, and Dan tried to make it out unscathed. In October of 2017, investigative reports by The New York Times and The New Yorker exposed decades of sexual harassment, assault, and misconduct allegations against film producer
is this
Harvey
nigga?
Weinstein. This prompted bloggers who knew about Dan's history to discuss him once again. More blind items from the Crazy Days and Nights blog emerged, like this one that suggests Dan, the producer, was sleeping with cast members. A producer who has been featured on this site from Officer never mentioned anything about sleeping with her. All but one of them were underage. She suspected that because she was legal for almost the entire run of the show that he was just not that into her. At some point, he did try and sleep with her and she turned him down. That rejection cost her a bunch of scene reductions. Meanwhile, the producer found someone else.
This nigga was petty too. Like, if you said no to him, he'd, bro, yo, yeah, you can't. I'm telling you, I would never put my kids in mute. After seeing this shit, hell no.
With who was also legal but loved to roleplay super young.
Bro?
She was getting the good lines and scenes. She was being offered crossover opportunities and new shows were being developed for her. And again, this could just be people spreading lies, but now the pressure was on, and Nickelodeon, Dan Schneider, they could feel the heat. Websites like The Revenge of the Sis became fully dedicated to exposing the creepy nature of the Nickelodeon network. Coincidentally, Nickelodeon cut ties with Dan Schneider in March of 2018 and paid him the $7 million still owed on his contract.
What?
They claimed this separation was a natural next step.
They cut him off and gave him the $7. Like, what?
Are proud of the work he did for Nickelodeon. Deadline Hollywood reported that there had been complaints about Schneider's alleged behavior, including his well-documented temper issues for years.
So he was working on Henry Danger.
Schneider parted ways. Dan's Twitter account went quiet. He only rarely made public appearances. He also tried to erase everything on his blog, but we still got that. Nickelodeon Studios even released its reboot of iCarly for the Paramount Plus streaming platform without Schneider. From Dan's exit in 2018 until today, YouTubers, bloggers, previous cast members, and media outlets greatly contributed to informing the public about Dan's ways.
Yeah, that nigga,
Perhaps the most
he's finished, bro.
detailed and detrimental article was the 2022 Business Insider Deep Dive, which interviewed 15 of Dan's
revealing teen costumes on set, massages, agenda,
former co-workers, some of which spoke horrible things and others defended his character. Dan cared about the kids on his shows even when sometimes their own families unfortunately did not. Russell Hicks, Nickelodeon's former president of content and production, wrote, "He was the shoulder they cried on when something happened to them. He understood what they were going through." Schneider drew hours away from writing scripts and instead spent time mingling with the stars on his shows, taking them out to dinner and inviting them to his house for holiday parties. It became so frequent that some of Schneider's colleagues questioned the amount of time he spent interacting with young actors. While Dan focused on being accepted by the children on his shows, several writers and crew members claimed Schneider created an uncomfortable, bizarre environment, regularly demanding 14-plus hour days and expected writers and crew members to be available 24 hours a day,
this nigga was tripping.
a week. More disturbing was Schneider's behavior towards female crew members, reportedly hugging them for extended periods as a joke, making people uncomfortable. Schneider also requested massages from adult female colleagues during his tenure at the network, according to several Nickelodeon staffers. Kerry Mellon, who worked as a costumer on Schneider's shows for 14 years, said Schneider received weekly massages from a third member of the costume team. They also claimed that Schneider would ask the women to give him a massage by reaching under his shirt. Despite claims that he fostered a hostile work environment, Schneider's shows at Nickelodeon were greenlighted because of his influence within the company. On-set employees rarely pushed back against Schneider.
Say, got it, bro.
Said, because you just didn't cross Dan. He was a really scary presence. However, it took all the way until the Quiet on Set documentary before Dan ever responded to any of these allegations. But during this 20-minute interview, he basically only admits to being mean to his writers.
I would snap at people sometimes. I would be snarky when I could have given them a nicer answer. I would not give people the time that they needed. I would be in too big a hurry to get on to the next thing I had to do. And watching that show,
you're cooked, buddy.
There were so many times I wanted to pick up a phone and call some of those people and say, "I'm so sorry, and let's talk about it. And I wish you had a better time, and I wish I could have shown you a better experience."
The rest of this conversation was him deflecting blame. He said that his inappropriate jokes were approved by the executives at Nickelodeon that were above him, and they didn't think the jokes were inappropriate at the time. But he also said that since people are upset about those jokes, then he's okay with erasing them, which makes people wonder, are they inappropriate or not? He claims he had no knowledge of any sexual assault that any of his previous cast members experienced, but he did admit to demanding massages.
Let's talk about the massages.
Shit.
Watching the content yesterday, that was disturbing.
It was wrong. It was wrong that I ever put anybody in that position. It was the wrong thing to do. I'd never do it today. I'm embarrassed that I did it then. I apologize to anybody that I ever put in that situation. And even additionally, I apologize to the people who were walking around Video Village or wherever they happened, because there were lots of people there who witnessed.
Nah,
it
bro, you're
also
cooked,
and
bro.
were uncomfortable. So I owe them an apology as well. Yeah.
He 100% wholeheartedly admitted that he forced people to touch him, which is interesting because it becomes very difficult to believe that he would stop there. Perhaps the craziest part about this video is that there's still so much more that I could cover. Some people's entire YouTube channels are dedicated to bringing Dan's dark secrets to light, but I do want to leave off with this message. Just remember that it's easy to think that this is all just entertainment because, well, these allegations feature some of our favorite child stars. Remember that they were real victims that had to suffer. People have gotten so wrapped up and excited about this expose that they're now blaming innocent people for being complicit in these alleged crimes. For example, Zoe 101 star Matthew Underwood was getting death threats for not speaking out against Dan Schneider. So to prove to these people that he is innocent, he voiced 2 different times where he was sexually assaulted as a minor. So now, after hearing many of the allegations, the rumors, the testimonies,
a lot of niggas just don't know what to do, man, when you're in that position, bro. I've never been in that position,
time
so
on
it's
Nickelodeon.
like,
Is it all just a coincidence, a conspiracy,
I don't know how to, like,
or
you know
a
what I'm saying?
calculated crime conglomerate?
I don't know how to really say, but that's just fucking crazy. He really just ruined, like, damn near every show that I used to watch.